All right, I'm here with Sports Talk Jay to talk about one of the bigger games of the year, a top 10 matchup between Alabama and Tennessee. We talked in our last video, Jay, about some concerns. Does it make you feel a little bit better that Alabama has some of these same struggles, or maybe different struggles, but playing Vandy and South Carolina in back-to-back weeks, they certainly didn't look like world beaters either. Make you feel a little bit better about this matchup coming up on Saturday?
Yeah, I watched both those games. The Vanderbilt game, I watched the second half of it, and then I watched the South Carolina game. I think I watched just about every bit of it. And their defense has not been playing so well. You can tell they're not the same. And I think losing that great safety they had has definitely played a role in it.
Mhm.
They've got a ton of talent, but their defense it's frustrating them. And so maybe that will help us with our offense because we've been struggling along those lines.
Are you the last 2 weeks? You think about Florida, Arkansas, South Carolina, and Vandy. Now, again, I know that me and you and everybody's a pretty big Diego Pavia fan right now, and so maybe it's unfair to put Vandy in that mix. But four teams that you wouldn't have really thought before the season were going to give any of these two teams very much trouble. Are you more surprised by Bama's struggles this year, or more surprised by Tennessee's struggles?
More surprised by Bama, honestly. I thought Kalen DeBoer was a great hire. He was the ideal hire given the circumstances. They weren't going to get Sarkeesian, and they certainly weren't going to get Kirby Smart. That was their first two choices. So they went the Kalen DeBoer route. He'd won everywhere he's been. He's used to dealing with situations that aren't ideal. So he comes into an ideal situation where he has all the talent in the world. However, he hadn't played in the SEC. Playing in the SEC is a very humbling thing, and you don't get away with the crap you're going to get away with out on the West Coast. So he's kind of had to figure out, oh crap, what Nick Saban did was amazing. So that's probably part of it. And then Arkansas beating us away on the road, given how they played this year, that's probably not that big a shocker. I was surprised, but they're actually a decent team.
Yeah. It's such a credit to Nick Saban. Like, and Kirby's probably the top of the sport right now. Like, nobody would really deny that. And Sarkeesian's maybe making his way into that conversation, and there's others too, Lanning and Day. But yeah, just the fact that Saban didn't really have those letdowns. Like, they might lose to a really talented Ole Miss team, or Johnny Manziel, or Georgia here and there. Like, but I mean, Georgia only once, I guess. But they didn't have the letdowns, and that to me, you're right. Like, it just shows like Saban was just a completely different animal that we will probably never see again. And I don't think I'm not out on DeBoer. I know their fans are ludicrous and ready to pack him up tomorrow, but I'm not out on DeBoer. It just nobody was going to be Nick, even with all the talent, even with all the advantages. He was just so much of a different animal than I think we'll ever see again.
Yeah, well, he was such a, it was all business to him, as far as how he handled things. It was just that personality that he has. I mean, you never see, he's not a lighthearted dude. Everything is just, we're going to do, I mean, those commercials they do where he's at VRBOs, that's really him. That's his personality. No fun, no this, no that. One flush. This isn't a party. That I think that personality is what you've got to have to stay at that level. But once NIL popped in, you got to pay the guys. They need playing time, and if they don't get it, they're in your office at the end of the year. He was like, "Okay, my time's over. My personality doesn't work now." So he said, "I don't need to go." He probably could have figured it out, but he didn't want to anymore. He had the money, had the fame, 7 titles, so he was done. And now you got to have a different personality. You've got to put up with more crap than you did back then.
Yeah. He it's funny watching him on game day sitting next to McAfee, who's just an absolute animal in a different way. And Saban will just look over at him like, what the heck are you even doing? Because you're right. It's all business. Even when he's talking on game day, he's not up there to have fun. He's up there to do a job and do that job better than anyone else. And he'll probably go down as one of the best, broadcasters too, because that's just who he is. So, defending a mobile quarterback this week, something that I don't really think anybody is well equipped to do, right? Like, nobody's like, oh yeah, we can just shut down it. It is just such a numbers thing. But I've asked you about this too in the past, but Milroe's one of the best with using his legs. Is that Is that what concerns you a lot in this game, or just thoughts around trying to limit him?
That's my number one concern, is his ability to run. He's going to throw the ball on us some for sure. He's got a solid arm. It's not a great arm. It's serviceable, but his ability to run is a game changer. I'm less concerned about him than I was like Bryce Young, because Bryce Young was a magic man. He could do it all. This guy, but once he gets running on you, it can be very difficult. And he's such a strong runner too. He's not as elusive as he is. He can run through tackles.
Yeah.
He'll have success against us running the ball. Nobody can stop a running quarterback that's really good, that has a good solid offensive line like he has.
How does the hype around last week, around it being Florida, is this week even? I know that Florida's a massive rival, but this is a big rival. Is the hype even at another level with it being Alabama coming into town, a top 5 team coming?
Yeah, for a lot of people it will be a lot. See, I can't stand Florida. I don't hate them. I just hate them. I have a big time sport, just like you do, being a Florida State guy. So for me, the Florida game was more important, but really the Alabama game is as important or more important because they're one of the conference leaders. So for most people, Alabama's the big game here in Knoxville. So the hype will be through the roof. It's just, I don't know how you exceed the Florida hype. It was that stadium was going ballistic. I mean, it was nuts. 101,000 people in there screaming their head off, and that affected the overtime big time.
Yeah. We talked about this when we talked about Florida, but the offensive line struggled to pass protect at times. I know there's concerns around the tackles. Thoughts on, how they can potentially limit Bama, who also has, has a much better defensive line against the pass and pass rushing than Florida did.
I almost expect it to be somewhat similar because Florida elevates against us. They just do. They're a different team against us, and I know everybody thinks I'm crazy. I've watched them for 30 years. Some teams elevate, and they did. And I think Alabama will be a very similar. They'll play tough. They'll get to Nico. I'm hoping Nico will run, but he probably won't. And I think we'll struggle offensively. And if we win, it'll probably be a similar style to how the Florida game went. If we win, it'll probably be 24-21 or something in the last couple of minutes. If not, we could get beat by 10.
Yeah, we've talked about that. Nico on the run. That's just the great equalizer, or whatever, give the great advantage in college football that they've gone to. And if they will be willing to use him, if he can keep another fumble early, maybe shook some confidence. But if they can be willing to use him, and if he'll actually use his legs, Bama's not set up to defend a mobile quarterback. You look at what Pavia did. Look what Sellers was able to do at times last week.
Yeah.
To me, that is you said Milroe running was what worried you the most. Nico running, and you have to do it effectively. You can't drop the ball. You got to be smart with it. You can't take hits against a very talented, back 7, back 8, whatever. I do think that's the best path to a Tennessee win is using the advantage that you have with his legs. And if they don't use it this week, I think it's going to be pretty tough for Tennessee. If they finally open it up and do it well, I think they'll be right in it late and have a chance in the game.
Yeah, I would run him 8 to 10 times. That's what I wanted last week. It didn't happen. Maybe it would have had he not fumbled the ball the first time and scared the coaches, because he looked amazing that first series. They were flying down the field. They were having no trouble at all, and he was getting ready to – he could have almost run in on that one. Even if he didn't get there, he'd have been down to the 10. And then we probably could have run in with Dylan Sampson. But like I said, I can't coach that team. I wish I could get over there and just say, just do this one thing for me. Run him 8 times. Just run him 8 times. And I wish he would take this mindset into the game. I'm going to go back. And if something's open that I'm looking for in the first couple of seconds, great. I'm going to throw the crap out of it. But if I look and there's nothing there, I would like to see him take off. Just go. If it's not there, go. And get 2 yards, 4 yards, 6, get whatever you can, get down, don't get hurt, and then play another play instead of getting sacked. What gets him sacked, and I've watched it, I don't know how many, a dozen times, he doesn't see the first couple of options available, and then he starts kind of, maybe something will open up. No, go, dude, go. Even if you lose a yard, so what? You didn't lose 7.
Yeah.
So That's where I'm at with it.
Bama's been somewhat susceptible to the run, and I know fans like to play the disrespect card, but I don't know that, as an outsider here, and I've kind of been pulling. Don't tell anybody, but I've been kind of pulling for Tennessee just because they're kind of a fun team to watch when they're up and going. But fans like to play the disrespect card, but is Sampson a little bit disrespected or like not respected enough? I feel like he's one of the better running backs in college football, and just doesn't necessarily get the hype that others do. But anyway, I feel like that would be kind of the way that Tennessee could also get some pretty good success. People have run pretty well on Bama over the last, well, really the whole year.
Yeah, I think he'll have a good game. He's starting to get the respect he deserves now. A lot of people are starting to talk about him. You're not going to get as much respect in a Heupel offense because you spread the field so much. So you're running against a five-man box all the time. So a lot of times the running backs, they don't have to deal with quite as much as you would a standard offense. But he's pretty special, you can tell.
Yeah.
And man, I tell you, he's grinding out there. I mean, I think he's starting to get the respect.
You mentioned him grinding. I still don't understand. I know we talked about Florida in the last one. I still don't understand how they called him down on the play before the touchdown. Like, I never
Oh,
saw him stop moving, and I thought they blew that a little bit late. I'm
yeah.
sorry, a little bit early. And I think that's why they were like, all right, we're going to give it to him this time and he's going to get in. Because that kid never stops. Like, his motor is off the charts. And I mean, he's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, back in the day, I wouldn't have been surprised a bit by it because they used to blow the whistle as soon as you stop forward motion. But now they don't do that at all. So that did surprise me a little bit. And the announcers called that out too. They're like, crap, that should have been a touchdown.
Yeah.
But you weren't going to stop him. And he doesn't, knock on wood, fumble very much at all. And I couldn't believe they did the quarterback sneak with Graham Mertz, who he got the ACL on the weirdest thing that has ever happened in football. He was just barely backpedaling and gets an. How?
That's
I just don't get it.
it's
But they
absolutely
went with
weird.
him. Why didn't they give it to that big old back they got?
Yeah.
I couldn't
Montre
figure
got him
that
all the
out.
way down the one, and then you quarterback sneak in there without Lagway. Well, obviously the other one should have been a sneak, on the 4th and 1,
Yeah.
but that's probably why that coach is on such a hot seat. So,
Oh yeah,
um,
definitely.
you mentioned the Heupel offense, and so I'll ask you this. Um, I spoke with somebody on the Bama side earlier today, and his thought was Heupel needs to probably play this out of character for himself, and that's a tough thing for coaches to do. But he probably needs to try and slow this thing down and not, deep shots are fine. Like you can take shots and pick and choose your time, but he probably needs to rely on Sampson a little bit more. First of all, it's where Bama has struggled defending the run. And then it also just takes the pressure off of Nico. And like you said, I cannot see, knock on wood, maybe it'll happen because I say it. I can't see Tennessee winning this thing 38-31 or 35-31. I mean, maybe, but I think that they do need to play this a little bit differently than they've tried to play games in the past and kind of rely on that ground and pound a little bit. Let their defense keep things in front of them and try and win this game a little uglier than maybe Josh likes to. Yeah, every coach, especially him, but every coach likes to go win, except for maybe Stoops, likes to go win by a billion. I think they do need to play a little bit differently than they have been. I don't know if you have a take there or not.
I would prefer them to go fast. I will always prefer that. I would push Nico through that. I would say we're going fast. You're going to learn how to go fast, and I'm going to put you. I don't care how much pressure I put on you. You're going to learn to go fast because that's what you signed up for.
Yeah.
And that's what is highly effective on the defense because once you get them in the wrong package, when they've got the wrong defensive package out there and the wrong players, that's when you can just burn them to death. And you saw it actually. This is what happened with Kirby Smart. Did you see him push the quarterback, Mississippi State quarterback, out of the way?
Yeah.
Shoved him. That's because he was freaking out because they were in the wrong defense and had the wrong personnel out there. And he knows you can get cooked like that. And he was like, crap, Mississippi State's going to get back in this game.
Yeah.
So for me, I would just push him through it. Say, Nico, learn on the job, buddy. You're getting $2 million a year, $8 million bucks. This is your second year. You've had a year to watch. I'm going to push him. And I think he could handle it eventually. And if he screws up, he screws up. That's life, man.
Yeah. Don't go down with your tail between your legs. So
Yeah, just exactly. I loved it when he went on it at that Florida game. When he went for that first down at the 10-yard line, I was fine with that. I know that it sounds crazy to go for it on your own 10, but if we'd have punted that ball, Florida was just going to come right down and score, and it didn't work out for us. I mean, even though we got the first down, but it sent the message to the team of we're stopping this BS.
Yeah.
We're going, and I trust you. And I always like that.
Yeah.
So
That was one of the, it felt like a video game. Like when you're playing something in a video game and they go for it on their fourth down because there's no real life consequences. Like who cares? That was one of the biggest cojones uh, moves I've ever seen. Like I don't know if I've ever seen it on your own 11 before. Like
well,
not that early, right? Fourth
yeah,
quarter, you're down by 2 scores. That'd be one thing. I've never seen anything like it going for that I can remember. I don't
he
know
was
if
down
personally a
3
moment.
points too. It's not like we were way down.
Yeah,
It's
that in
three to
the
nothing.
I'm telling you, dude, I
Well, this
liked
is a
it
guy,
too.
you got to remember, this is a guy that won a national championship who came from a small school. He's the polar opposite of Nico. He came from a small school. Nobody had ever heard of him. He had to earn his way onto the Oklahoma sideline as a backup quarterback. And then he wound up becoming the starter. And he just willed his team to a national championship, almost won the Heisman. And he's not that talented. He's up here. He's talented.
Yeah.
And he's got the guts. One of the things I love about his coaching style is he's never afraid. That's what I like about him. And I've watched him now for this is the fourth year. In that 2021 season, I was like, I never want another coach ever because he went for it so many times and he had the offense to make it work, and it worked a lot.
Unfortunately, I know a little bit all too well about that national championship that he won. So, yeah, I'm a little bit bitter still, even though I was a little
So
bit
that was
younger.
what 2020? No, 2000. I mean,
2000, yeah, against FSU. So we put up a whopping 2 points in that game. So, but they were a solid 2 points. This game kind of feels it's not an elimination game. Both teams would certainly be able to win out and get in, I think. But your margin for error if you don't win this game for either team is about zero. Like I don't see either one of these teams dropping this one and then another one. And so I think that added pressure is certainly an aspect of this. I don't know how much it plays into down to down, but I think that's a lot of added pressure on both teams to kind of know like, yeah, I don't think you can afford to lose this one. I mean, in theory, you could. Tennessee could go out and beat Georgia later and win their way in. Bama could go out and, this is not going to sink, but it's pretty close to an elimination game with how crazy college football has been this year.
yeah, for me it is. I told my audience last week that there is no tomorrow when we played Florida. I was like, we have to win this game. Then 7 days later, we have to win that game
Yeah.
because we lost our entire cushion when we gave up that game against Arkansas, which we should have won. We just screwed it up. That happens. You have no more cushion, which is, hey, I'm glad to have any cushion anymore because you used to have zero. It used to be we're out of it. A
Yeah.
year ago, we're out of it, period. Now we're still in it as long as we don't lose another game.
Yeah.
So to me, this is a must have. That would still give us the cushion of losing to Georgia at Georgia, which is Georgia has a defense that really performs well against our offense. And especially now that we're struggling, it's going to be really hard to go down to Georgia and beat them. I don't want, if we're in that situation, we're looking at 9-3, 8-4.
Yeah. It's tough it's if you lose to Bama this week, it's tough to say, oh, well, we'll just go beat Georgia in Athens. That's an easy thing to do. Man, it's Monday night that we're doing this, so you probably don't have a prediction, but do you have a lean? Like, how do you think this thing ends up?
Not yet. No, I'll probably do a prediction on Thursday or something. I don't know. I usually have to kind of get away, especially after the Florida game. I'm still digesting that and trying to think about the whole thing with Nico and this offense and what Heupel's doing. And now we're missing a linebacker. It's which you're in 6 games now. You're going to lose some key players. That's just the way it is. I mean, there's no way around it. Hell, we've actually been pretty fortunate on injuries up until losing Peely, which is a key guy, but I don't know. We'll see how this plays out, but I need a few days on that.
Where can people follow you? Where can they find more of your work?
Sports Talk J on YouTube. I don't do a ton of other social media stuff. Just I like to get on YouTube and give my very humble opinion on things.
Well, I enjoy it. I like it. I wish you guys played. I wish you had already played Old Miss, so that we could get some more
Jeez,
rants on
dude,
the
you
on the
don't want
injury
us
stuff.
to play Old Miss with me. And oh my God, they probably have to do a cease and desist on me. They probably would. I mean, I'm telling you, yeah, Lane is just he triggers me big time. First, just for Don't even get me. See,
I think while we're doing this, they just had another guy fall down
oh God,
to get us to slow down on what we're talking about.
I'm gonna stop that. You think I'm kidding? I'm gonna put a stop to that. I don't care how long it takes. Every time they do it, I'm gonna be like a duck on a June bug, and I'm gonna keep wearing it out until somebody does something. Nick Saban's talking about it. That's huge.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it is getting more notice. You saw them put a statement out. They did it. They still did it, but they did it less in Baton Rouge this week. So I don't know, man. It's such Bush League. Like
Well,
it's the
he's been
worst
doing
thing
it
that's going on
since
in our
he's
sport.
been doing it since year one at Ole Miss. He did it again. Everybody's like, "Oh, how dare you throw golf balls and French's mustard at him?" We didn't do it because we were pissed off at him, even though we are. It's because he was cheating,
Yeah,
allegedly. My opinion, he was
yeah,
cheating.
yeah. It's so wrong, and
Yeah, it's wrong. It's free timeouts.
it's
It's like literally you get 8, 10 more free timeouts anytime you want them. You kill the momentum of the other team. It's bullshit.
yeah, no, it is the absolute worst thing going on with all the complaints about the portal and NIL and everything else. That is the worst thing to me right now in college football. Like
I
it
agree.
is
It's
so
a
bad.
poison.
Jay, I appreciate you for hanging out and ranting a little bit on lane 2, and good luck this weekend.
All right, no problem.